in the first part of November of 1944. And we were there until December 16th of 1944. We went into Belgium, and we went on I guess you call it defensive positions, right on the border between Belgium and Germany. And when the Battle of the Bulge broke out on December 16th, 1944, that's where we were, right on that front line. The Germans broke through us. It was not only our division, but about 3 or 4 other divisions all along the line, all the way down to Luxembourg. And anyway, on the 16th of December, the Germans broke through. Our particular company, we were in a heavily wooded area. The Germans went right around us. So we never saw a German, never saw a tank. But we knew we were surrounded. We didn't know what was going on, actually, but we knew we were surrounded. So they said, we gotta get out of there. So we marched for the afternoon of the battle, that night, the next day, and the following night, two days in effect. And the final night was the worst because I guess we were close to getting out of the Bulge. And we marched in pitch darkness, single file. We had to hold on to the guy in front of you so you wouldn't get lost because you couldn't even see the guy in front of you. You could only feel his coat and hang on to it. And so about 5 o'clock or so in the morning, we finally got to this little town of Elsenborn. It's right on the border. I guess they had some fighting going on. The Germans went through that town apparently, and the Germans weren't interested in occupying any place because they just wanted to get to Antwerp. And Hitler thought if they got that far, they'd be able to get supplies and cut off the British forces, which were to the north of us, and the American forces, and help change the war around. The Germans went through us, and with all their tanks and all their troops behind them, and we were in back. We were more or less surrounded, although we didn't know to what extent. But we finally got to Elsenborn. We went into defensive positions. We had foxholes. I think there were some foxholes already there. We had to dig our own further in, and we were there until the end of the Bulge, which was the end of January of 1945. At the end of the Battle of the Bulge, the next day, in fact, they got us all up early in the morning and started marching us into Germany. I'm not sure if we got into Germany. I think we may have. On my record, it says I got wounded in Germany. So what happened, we were marching toward Germany anyway, and it was pretty much open ground. There's a lot of snow. There was a foot of snow or more on the ground. So going was slow. So, as I say, we started out like at 6 o'clock. Around 8 o'clock, after maybe a couple hours, we came to a forest, and they said, try and take cover as much as you can, because the Germans are in this forest, but we're not going to attack them. I don't know why, but they said they're going to wait. We're going to wait until dark. Now this is early in the morning still. We're talking about maybe 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. They said we're going to wait till it got dark, and they're going to go around the forest because it was kind of a small forest. And so what can we do? I was a PFC, so we did what we were told. So anyway, I was there maybe an hour or two when all of a sudden wham! I thought somebody hit me with a bat. It turned out a sniper hit me. Missed my heart by 2.5 inches, according to the doctors. Since he was a sniper, and he must have been fairly close, the bullet went all the way through. So I was one of the luckiest guys in the Army. So I was able to crawl back to where my sergeant was, and he put Band-Aid on my back. I didn't need one on the front because it was such a small hole. And he told me to crawl back as far as I could. Well, I couldn't crawl too far back. There was all snow on the ground. So I crawled out on the snow, laid on my back, and I stayed on my back until it got dark that afternoon. In other words, roughly 8 hours waiting on top of the ice because they weren't going to send any medics up until it got dark. So as soon as it got dark, so it must have been around 5 o'clock. I don't know if I had a watch or not at that time. Finally, the medics showed up, picked me up. Four medics picked me up. I don't know if you want to hear all this. The medics picked me up, and they had to take me back to where they had a Jeep. It must have been close to a mile back over all the snowy ground. They dropped me off the stretchers twice. But they finally got to the Jeep, put me on the hood of the Jeep, and drove about another mile back. They had what they call it, a battle hospital. That's tent. It was a tent where they had some doctors there, and any of the wounded were brought there. So I got there, and they gave me a shot of morphine, which knocked me out, and I didn't know another thing until the following morning when I woke up I think they used an old school and made it a hospital, a temporary hospital. So I was there for about 2 days. They put us on a train. They called them 40 and 8s. It was a type of boxcar that used to hold 40 men and 8 horses. Anyway, they had converted these into places for people in stretchers. So they put us on a stretcher on this train and took us to Paris, France, in a big hospital. I could see the Eiffel Tower from my room. It's kind of neat. So I was there about 2 days, maybe 3 days, I don't remember. From there, they took us by ambulance to the airport, and it was flown over to England. I went to a hospital there. They had one hospital. They took us there. I was there about, I don't know, 3 or 4 days, maybe longer. They took me by ambulance to another hospital, the one that specialized in chest cases. So I was there. No, you're talking about February. We're into February of 45, and I was there until May. In May, we went by ambulance to the port of England, which took us by hospital ship to Charleston, South Carolina. It took about 10 days. It was a real. They took a southern route, being a hospital ship, because the war was not quite over. I think the war ended just about the time we got to the States. I forget. But anyway, we landed in Charleston, South Carolina. We stayed there one night, put us on a train, and took me to Okmulgee, Oklahoma. The hospital there, I was there about a month. After about a month, I got on a train again, took me to Battle Creek, Michigan. There's a hospital, Percy Jones Hospital, and they also had a camp there. I forget the name of the camp, but an army base. So I was there until October of 45 when I was discharged. And during that time, I was able to go home a couple of times by hitchhiking, but also you could take a train. So a couple of times I took the train. So that was it. I didn't give you the beginning of my career, but that's too long a story.